Love doesn't recognize the walls we build inside ourselves. Maybe it simply grows to fill whatever space it's in, and then keeps growing past the edges, because it isn't in its nature to stop just because we've decided it should. Mine didn't stop. It hasn't stopped. It has no intention of stopping, and I have run out of reasons to ask it to. I want to tell you something about what I was afraid of, because I think understanding my fear will help you understand why I waited as long as I did, why I managed as long as I did, why it took seeing you with someone to finally break through the last of my reluctance and bring me here. I was afraid of changing what we have. I need you to understand that this fear was not small or irrational, it was enormous, and it was grounded in something real. What we have, the specific way we exist with each other, the particular quality of ease and honesty and warmth that lives between us, that is something I treasure beyond my ability to properly express. And I was terrified that saying this, bringing all of this feeling out into the open between us, would change that, would make things awkward or heavy or complicated in a way that damaged the very thing I loved most. That fear kept me quiet for a long time. That fear was the last wall, and it was the strongest one, because all the other fears I had been able to dismantle through reason. The fear of rejection I addressed by reminding myself that honesty is its own reward. The fear of being too much I addressed by deciding that the right person would not find me too much. The fear of timing I addressed by accepting that there is never a perfect time and waiting for one is just another name for never. But this fear, the fear of losing what we already have, that one I couldn't dismantle through reason because reason agreed with it. Reason said, yes, this is a real risk, and you should take it seriously. And then I saw you with someone, and reason changed its position. Because here is what became clear to me in that moment. Here is the thing that shifted from theoretical to viscerally and undeniably real. The cost of silence is not neutral. I had been calculating the risk of speaking as though the alternative to speaking was a safe status quo, as though keeping everything inside preserved things exactly as they were indefinitely. But that's not how it works. That's not how any of this works. Because I am in here, carrying all of this, and it changes me. It makes me careful in ways that create their own distance. It makes me hold back in moments when I would otherwise move forward. It makes me less present than I want to be, less honest than I want to be, less real than I want to be, because a significant part of my reality is the thing I'm not saying, and when you're not saying the most significant thing, everything else you say is slightly incomplete. The silence wasn't preserving things. The silence was slowly hollowing them out from the inside, and seeing you with someone made me understand that clearly and immediately in a way that all my previous reasoning had not quite managed to reach. So the fear changed shape. It stopped being the fear of speaking and became the fear of not speaking. It stopped being the fear of disrupting something good and became the fear of watching something potentially extraordinary remain forever unlived, because I was too careful to reach for it. And this new fear, the fear of the unlived, was so much larger and so much more convincing that the old fear simply could not stand against it. I reached. This is the reaching. Every word I'm giving you right now is my hand extended in your direction, open, with nothing concealed in the palm, nothing held back in the closed fingers, just open, just reaching, just the most honest thing I know how to do, which is to give you the full and unedited truth of what lives in me when I think about you, when I see you, when I imagine a life and find you necessary to every version of it that feels worth living. I want to ask you to do something, and I want to ask it gently, without pressure, without any implication that there is a right or wrong way to respond. I want to ask you to sit with everything I've given you here and let it be real. Don't process it immediately. Don't run it through whatever filter you normally use to manage incoming feelings. Don't decide quickly what category it belongs in or what the appropriate response is. Just let it land. Just let it sit in you and be warm and be heavy and be whatever it is without rushing to resolve it into something manageable. Give it the time it deserves. Give yourself the time you deserve. Because whatever you feel when you sit quietly with all of this, whatever arises without editorial, without management, in the honest dark of your own interior, that is the truth. And that truth is the only thing I am actually asking for. I am not asking you to love me on my timeline. I am not asking you to feel what I feel in the proportion I feel it, or in the way I feel it, or right now in this moment simply because I have finally been brave enough to speak. Love doesn't work on the schedule of the person who declares it, and I would never want it to. What I am asking for is simpler and more important than that. I am asking for honesty. Your honesty given back to me with the same care I have tried to give mine to you. Whatever is true for you, whatever you find when you look honestly at what you feel, I want that. Not a version of it shaped to spare my feelings. Not a kind approximation designed to be gentle, but the actual truth. Because I can work with truth, I can hold truth, even difficult truth, and remain whole. What I cannot hold is the in-between, the unspoken, the managed distance of something that is never quite said. I have had enough of the unspoken. I have had enough of standing at the edge of something and looking at it from a careful distance. I have crossed the distance now, and I am standing close, and I am looking at you directly, and I am saying, I saw you with someone, and it broke something open in me, and what came out was more love than I knew I was carrying, and I am giving it to you now. All of it, without conditions or expiration, or the small print of self-protection. I am giving it to you because it belongs to you. It has always belonged to you. Every quiet moment of it, and every overwhelming wave of it, and every small accumulated instance of it, yours. And I know that you might need time. I know that this is a lot to receive, that it changes the shape of things between us, that you will need to sit with it and feel it, and find your own truth inside it, before you can bring anything back to me. I know all of that, and I am telling you that I have patience. Real patience, not the performed kind that is actually just suppressed impatience wearing a calm face, but real patience rooted in real certainty, the kind that can wait because it knows what it's waiting for is worth whatever time it takes, because you are worth whatever time it takes. You are worth the waiting and the uncertainty and the vulnerability of having said all of this without knowing what comes back. You are worth every moment of the not, yet every moment of the in-between, every moment of standing in the open, with my heart fully visible, and trusting that what I've placed in front of you will be handled with the care I know you're capable of. You are worth the risk of all of it. And somewhere in the place where you keep your most honest feelings, somewhere beneath the processing and the questioning and the careful consideration of what all of this means, I think you already know what you feel. I think you have known for longer than you've let yourself admit. I think that somewhere inside you, in the quiet that exists before the noise of reasoning begins, there is something warm and certain and completely unsurprised by everything I've said. Something that has been waiting, the same way I have been waiting, for someone to finally be brave enough to say it out loud. I have been brave enough. I have finally, after all this time, after all the managing and the carefully maintained distance, and the night I saw you with someone and understood that silence was no longer something I was willing to choose, I have finally been brave enough. And now the words are out, and they are real, and they are between us, visible and warm and waiting. And all I can do now is stay here in this openness and hope that somewhere on your side of the distance, something is already moving toward me. Already leaning in the direction of everything I've just given you, the way a plant moves toward light without deciding to, without planning to, simply because that is what living things do. When something warm and real is present, they turn toward it, they reach for it, they grow in the direction of whatever it is that makes them feel most alive. And I want to be that for you. I want to be the warmth you turn toward without thinking, the presence that makes something in you reach without having to be convinced, the person whose voice you hear and whose words you receive, and something inside you simply says, yes, yes, this is the one I turn toward. This is where I grow. I have been thinking about you turning toward me. I want to be honest about that because I think honesty is the only currency worth spending at this point, and I have already spent everything else. I have thought about it in the quiet moments, in the early hours, when the mind goes to its most unguarded places, in the spaces between activity, when there is nothing to distract from whatever is most true. I have imagined what it would feel like to have you turn toward me fully, not partially, not with the measured and careful turning that two people do when they are still figuring out what they are to each other, but completely. The way you turn towards something you have decided on. The way you turn towards something you are choosing with your whole self, not just the part of you that thinks it's a reasonable idea, but the part of you that feels it as necessary. That complete turning. I have imagined it, and I want to tell you that what I imagine feeling in that moment is not triumph or relief, or even happiness exactly, though it would be all of those things too. What I imagine feeling most is a profound and overwhelming sense of rightness. Like something that has been slightly out of alignment for a long time finally settling into the place it was always meant to occupy. Like a sound resolving into the note it was reaching for. Like finally being exactly where I belong. I belong near you. I want to say that simply and let it stand without elaboration, because some things don't need to be built upon. They just need to be said and received. I belong near you the way certain things just belong together, not because someone decided they should, not because logic arranged them that way, but because there is something in the nature of each that is completed by the other. That is what I feel when I am near you. I feel completed in a way that has nothing to do with being incomplete on my own. I am not coming to you from a place of emptiness, asking you to fill something, making you responsible for what is missing in me. I am coming to you from a place of fullness, from a place of having done the work of becoming whole on my own, and telling you that wholeness plus wholeness, when the two people are the right two people, creates something that neither could create alone. Something that has its own quality, its own warmth, its own particular and irreplaceable beauty. That is